It is a full moon in Virgo. Today is 2/24/24, which is a palindrome numerological day. And if you break down each 4, you get a 6. So 6 is a very symbolic number to the number of man. And with the numbers being quadrupled, because we're in an 8 year, which is infinity, which is new beginnings, and Virgo is all about the body, your health, your well-being. And so in this time, I thought that it would be a good idea for me to delve into some of the things that my body has communicated to me. So welcome if you're new to the channel. If you're not, thank you for returning. And I am going to share with you the way you can connect with your body to receive messages from spirit, messages across timelines, even messages about your past life. And this is really interesting. I shared this on Patreon already. It's just something that I hope that it inspires you to see that your body truly is a portal to any experience you desire to have. It's not just a temple, and your body is a living altar as well. So the interesting thing is, a few months ago, I woke up, got out of the bed like I always do, did some stretching. Well, I attempted to do some stretching, and my right foot felt like a rock was inside of my foot, under the bottom of my foot, in between my second toe and my third toe. I have never felt this before. I had to limp to the bathroom. That's how much pain I was in. So I sat down and I started to rub it, and I asked, what's happening? I've never experienced this before. I don't know what to do. What's wrong? What do you need? And throughout the rest of that day, I continued to ask and to tend to my body as best as I could. So I decided to go to the doctor if it didn't resolve itself within a few days. And as each day passed, the pain got worse and worse. Then I noticed my foot started to swell on the bottom. And I was like, okay, I asked you to let me know if I needed to consult with someone else to help me. This is the sign. Thank you. And so this is a new relationship with the body. Instead of feeling like your body is interrupting your plans, to understand that your body is a messenger. And our body holds the memory of every experience, most often across many lifetimes. So I went to the doctor, and he said, we're going to do an x-ray. And so as I'm sitting there getting the x-ray, I'm thinking to myself, this has something to do with my second toe being longer than my first toe. Just intuitively, I knew. Now stick with me, because I know you're probably wondering why I'm telling you this. And I'm going to get to that in just a moment. So he did the x-ray, and he was pointing and showing it to me and explaining it. And at the same time, we both say the second metatarsal is longer than the first. And he looked at me and he said, okay, you know some of the anatomy of the foot. And I was like, yeah, I tend to be somebody that likes to study everything and anything that is going to help me and help me help others. So yes, this is something that I study. I study the anatomy for many reasons, but yes. So he says to me, the ball joint within your second toe has been taking an enormous amount of pressure because it's longer than the first toe. So the nerve is irritated, and the pain that you're getting is coming from the pressure that's being put on that joint and the irritated nerve. So he said, I'm going to tell you what the first line of treatment is. And of course, most often the treatment is going to be something that hurts. So, and it was. And these were injections that I have to get every 2 weeks now. And it's like this alcohol that's injected into the foot to basically kill the nerve in the foot. So I got the first treatment. I'm on my way home, and I'm just laughing and thinking to myself, what message is this bringing me? When you ask a question, it opens up the possibility for you to receive an answer. You don't get anything that you don't ask for when you're seeking clarity. A lot of times we're not getting clarity because we're not asking, or we're not asking the correct questions. So I'm asking my right foot, what is it that you want me to know? And as I'm driving home, of course, I got to drive with my right foot. So I'm in tears, in pain, but I'm laughing. And I'm choosing to not go to war with my body, to not be offended with my body, to not beat my body up for what's happening, because it was the last thing I wanted to be experiencing. I wanted to go for a walk that day. The weather was pretty nice. And this interrupted me going for a walk to be in nature. So I was a little irritated about it. But I know that my new earth anchor, right, for me to have experiences that reflect heaven more so than earth, that reflect a harmonious life that is filled with many reasons to be grateful. It requires my perspective to be in alignment to have that experience. So I'm choosing to respond differently so that I am not dropping an anchor on the old earth to keep experiencing what I have experienced throughout my lifetime that was shaped, formed, and conditioned by my traumas. So this is how you help yourself to merge into a higher timeline to have an improved experience in life without actually changing the stuff that's occurring in your reality. So as I'm driving, I keep hearing this song in my head, walk like an Egyptian. And as a kid, whenever that video would come on, I don't know, it was just something about that song that I was really, really enamored by. And so I was like, why is this song coming to me? And I was like, okay, well, I asked for a message. Maybe it's a message. Maybe it'll make sense later. So I get home, and my dad called. He's like, how you doing? And we catching up. And I'm like, yeah, I had to get some injections in my foot to start killing the nerve, because I'm having pain in my foot. And he was like, is it the second toe pain? And I was like, how you know? He said, I got that too. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Thank you, Dad, for giving me a long second toe. And he said, you know what they call that, right? And I was like, it's a metatarsal, Morton's neuroma, a lot of different anatomical explanations of the pain. And he was like, well, they call it a pharaoh's toe because all of the pharaohs, anybody of noble lineage in ancient Egypt, had a second toe that was longer than the first toe. And that hit me. And the song Walk Like an Egyptian came back to me. And then I started to think about the fact that I have a name which means an Egyptian desert wind storm. My birth name. I graduated from a high school called Raleigh, Egypt, with the mascot as a pharaoh. And I basically grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, where we're sitting on the Nile River of the West with a pyramid that I graduated in. So these are like synchronicities across my whole lifetime. And those are just a couple because I was born in Alexandria, and there's also Alexandria, Egypt, just like there's a Memphis, Egypt. So these are things that you can notice just by asking the right questions and staying open-minded, open-hearted to receive. So, I'm talking to him, and so needless to say, we got into a long conversation. I got off the phone and just started to journal. And as I'm journaling, I realized that it was through this pain from my second toe that some of my past life in Egypt started to come back to me. And I did some research, and I did find that nobility from Egypt, they did have some common genetic predispositions for certain anatomical things, certain diseases as well. And there are a lot of other synchronicities that I started to find once I looked into it. And the interesting thing was, if I have not told you anything that was interesting yet, it gets more interesting, because 2 days prior to all of this occurring, in the middle of the night, I woke up and bee pollen was on my mind. I opened TikTok, and the first video that popped up was this lady talking about these specific types of bees where there is an elixir that is made from this specific kind of honey that can heal your eyes. So it was really interesting, and I was like, I'm going to do some research about this. So I'm doing research about the bees, the stingless bees of Honduras, which is usually where this elixir is made from. Just doing some research, and then I come across bee pollen, and I'm like, I was just thinking about that. So I clicked on it, and I'm reading about bee pollen and some of the symptoms that I've been dealing with, like allergies, sinus issues, inflammation issues, were some of the main things that bee pollen can help assist in healing. And there was a little snippet about the history of bee pollen. Guess what? Bee pollen was commonly used to heal many different ailments in Egypt. Yeah. So at this point, if I wasn't sure before, from looking into my own Akashic record, that I had a past life in Egypt of being nobility, now I have so many synchronicities. This is no longer ever going to be a doubt in my mind. And they used it to help them have a better life because wealth is your health. And I'm recording this during the Virgo full moon, 2/24/24 Virgo full moon. Again, I talked about the 2 6s, 6 representing the number of man, and it's just a lot of commonalities in this information coming together, which inspired me to do this video. So I ordered the bee pollen, and the bee pollen just so happened to come the day after I had these injections. I took it, and immediately when I took it, I was overwhelmed with tears in my eyes, with gratitude for everything that bees have provided for humanity. And some of the tears was just being thankful for their presence on earth with us, but some of them was also the fact that I know that their population has been dwindling because of a lot of the decisions that humans have made and the way it has impacted our world and their ecosystem and many other insects and animals' ecosystem. So I'm in tears, and I'm just giving thanks and gratitude. I listened to this sound healing by Kristen. She's a part of Serious Joy. And if you've never heard of them, just look them up. They are like really, really phenomenal in assisting people going through this ascension process with astrology. And I'm listening to the sound healing. I just took the bee pollen, and immediately I just feel this resonance with her, with a connection to sound healing in Egypt as well. So once you start tapping into one thing, it kind of can begin to snowball depending on how open you are. Now, I might have skipped something that was important to share, which was The time travel, shadow work, mirror work ceremony that I do using music or binaural beats, crystal bowls, any form of sound that resonates. I've really been into flutes, cellos, crystal bowls, and handpans lately. Those are some of the main instruments that I have been working with to help me in my healing journey. I've been listening to certain things that connect with my soul while I'm staring at myself in the mirror with the intention of connecting with any parts of my wounded inner child that has not been loved, protected, and supported the way that I need it. And when you combine sound, mirror work, soul gazing with your own soul, with the intention of connecting with your inner child, those four things combined together, I have found to be a really transformational experience every single time I do this. Emotions come up that I didn't know I buried oftentimes, and afterwards I feel so much more grounded. I feel more whole. I feel more capable of continuing this journey. I feel more confident, and my wounded inner child trusts me more each time. So time travel is something that is done using the mind. This is the reason that a lot of us are re-experiencing triggers that connect to a trauma from the past for the purpose of acknowledging and processing in the present so that you can change the trajectory of your future. So this is timeline quantum jumping. When you're doing this, it opens up the realm of possibility. Potentials maybe that were not accessible become accessible because of this work. As I'm doing these works, I'm not attached to what's going to happen a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months later. This is just a journey of trusting and openness. So this is some of the reason that I was able to connect with my body and receive a message and have a memory recalled of me being in a past life in ancient Egypt. And I've had more than one past life in ancient Egypt. But the one where I was a part of nobility, I experienced a lot of wealth and a lot of prestige that I really didn't have to earn or do anything about. And it's something that in this life I experienced the opposite. And this is just how we incarnate to have these different experiences. And it helps us to become, ultimately, it helps us to become a better version of ourselves. So with that being said, I wanted to share with you, I will make sure that I link that video just in case you did not see that video, so that you can start to connect with these aspects of yourself as well. But with these experiences, my body has been communicating several things to me all at once. And some of those things that my body have been communicating to me are centered around ringing in the ears, are centered around this sensation of dizziness and spinning that I have had happen to me since 1999, 2000. So right when we were coming into the new millennium, I started to experience vertigo. And back then, I didn't know anything about an ascension soul journey. But I realized that I was being impacted back then. And in August of 2022, vertigo took me completely off my feet for 6 months. I burnt myself out. I was working so hard and doing so much. And I ended up on bed rest for a few months. And a lot of the content that I created was right from my bed. I couldn't do anything else. In between throwing up and not really even wanting to eat because I know that I'm probably going to throw up, in between not being able to do things for myself, not being able to drive. It was a lot of things in my life that started to accumulate because I wasn't able to be as productive. So this was a really difficult time in my life. And the first time this happened to me, as the year 2000 was coming, I was in college. So I missed a lot of classes, and this went on for 2 months. But when it happened to me in 2022, on August the 18th, 10 days after the Lioness Gate portal, it was much worse than that first time around. And sometimes these symptoms can be ascension symptoms. Sometimes you could have something going on, with your ear, with your inner ear. There's a lot of different things. It could be medically, but the purpose in this conversation is to make the connections between the messages that your body brings and how to access information that's stored within your body. So a lot of us are dealing with dizziness. Personally, I know a lot of people dealing with this, and it seems to be mostly women. I haven't come across any men that have had this experience. Ringing in the ears, a lot of people are having this as well. Headaches, a lot of people are having this as well. And I want to talk about some of the spiritual messages that those symptoms could be communicating. As we're adjusting to being in higher frequencies, this means that our body is also becoming a conduit of frequencies that we haven't yet adapted to. Within each body, there are 72,000 circuits. And within these circuits, if information and DNA, a cellular memory, is coming online, then you're going to have some type of symptom. It's similar to when you get in the airplane. Because I live at sea level, when I get in the airplane, the shift that I feel in my body is usually pretty significant. So my body is making adjustments because the pressure levels are different. You can look at the barometer and see that sometimes even just with the weather without being in a plane. And being at a different level, the higher you go, a lot of times the more oxygen the body needs to function. And ringing in the ears, your ears popping, all these things can happen because your altitude is shifting. So whether or not we're actually in a plane or not, as we're moving through different planes of existence, as we're accessing different multidimensional versions of ourselves, we are experiencing a lot of shifts in our altitude, the shifts in the frequency. So the body will send messages to let you know. Now, lately, my dreams have been even more vivid than they were before. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I talked about some of the new clairs coming online for me. One of them is being able to get information from scents, odors, anything that I'm smelling communicates new information, and it's gotten a lot stronger than it used to be. And so I've been talking about that for months as well. But as these things are happening, my dream recall is also communicating messages to me that maybe I cannot get when I'm woke. So as we're going through these planetary shifts, pay attention to your dreams, because oftentimes the subconscious mind, just like the body has messages for you, the subconscious mind is communicating, usually in our dream state, because we're in a more relaxed state, because we're traveling the astral realm. This is the fourth dimension during our sleep, which means that we're not as bound by time and space. We're not bound by a physical body. So we can have more experiences that are more vast than in our waking life. We're phasing in and out of different versions of Earth depending on what's happening with the collective. Okay? So the 3D version of Earth is the version of Earth that we inherited when we were born, where we had a lot of experiences that we now call traumatic experiences. And it's a lower level of consciousness that's all about survival. In order for you to be able to actually become an alchemist of your experiences, it requires you to create routines that support you to be able to be this different version of you. So let's use a simple example. If you want to be a marathon runner, but you haven't worked out, you haven't jogged, you haven't went running in a long time, you haven't done any cardio. If you create a routine where you can gradually work yourself up to be able to do that, now you create a new experience. Now you can actually go and run that marathon and have an experience you wouldn't have had without a daily routine to support you to be able to accomplish that. This is exactly how you create timelines to be experienced. The planetary movements have a lot to do with what we can access as well. Because of the laws of the universe, if we set an expectation to have experiences that are love-based and not ego-based, that are based in thriving and not just surviving, moment to moment will offer you choices that act as bridges to new timelines, new experiences, new moments. And each moment that you experience something new creates your reality. So your daily routines create your reality. Not the people in your life, not the things that you feel are toxic dynamics that you might be experiencing. Those things don't create our reality. Those things can trigger us. Those things can act as an elevator that's taking us back down to the basement, or those things can act as an elevator that's taking you to a higher level, a higher altitude, a higher perspective, a higher consciousness, a higher timeline. So in all of this happening, for me personally, the ringing in the ears and vertigo was that internal spinning sensation had a lot to do with the work that I was doing with my third eye, my pineal gland being decalcified, learning how to anchor these higher frequencies so that I can navigate life as a different version of myself. And if you look in nature, nature holds this spiral, they call it the Fibonacci sequence or the golden mean rule. And so you can see this with seashells. You can see this with hurricanes, tornadoes, storms, that spiral energy. Spiral energy is reflective of creation energy. Time is not linear. Time is also spherical. It's radial. The feminine is symbolized by a spear, that spiral-like energy. If you watch plants, when they grow from a seedling to becoming a plant, it has a spiral movement. Some cultures have dances that they do that include a lot of spinning, and this is the reason why. Spinning is something that can actually be used to connect with spirit. Sometimes, if I'm doing some really deep healing work for myself, I'm working on quantum jumping, I'm working on changing my perspective so that I can alter my reality, I'm honing in on my chakras to see what's happening with those energy centers. What messages are they communicating with me? When you're doing this work, sometimes you can activate what we would call Shakti energy, that feminine energy at the base of the spine. Also Kundalini. You can access that energy And it's not so much so that you're like waking it up. It's more so that you're becoming consciously aware of that energy. And the work that you're doing, hopefully, is giving you energy to continue the journey. So this is more life force energy that you're accessing. The way that these serpents, which is just flows of energy, streams of energy, currency, right? These are energy currents. The way that they move up the spine is similar to spinning, which is similar to the sensation of vertigo. So in some of those periods, me asking what message is coming through about this, I would oftentimes realize that I've been getting so many Akashic downloads that my mind, body, and spirit is just overloaded. And a lot of this is because my crown chakra, my head center, is undefined. And in human design, if your head chakra center is undefined, it means that the external world can have a strong imprint on your head chakra. So it's easy for me to pick up beliefs from external things and think that they're mine. It's easy for me to go down into rabbit holes about things and get lost. This is all active crown chakra energy. And this is why I say it's so important to, start tapping into your human design. Everybody's chakras are not the same. And I thought this in the beginning of my journey until I started to do more work with myself and studying. They are not the same. So because of that, I would short circuit. I would literally blow out the circuitry in my own body, in my own energy system. And I would be overwhelmed with information, overwhelmed with energy. All information has energy attached to it. If I'm not caring for my body the way that I need to for that amount of energy that I'm taking on, something is bound to be out of place. There's going to be a misalignment somewhere. Vertigo slowed me down. It helped me to stop, and it became an alarm system to let me know that I'm doing too much. And I would benefit from slowing down, grounding, stillness, spending some time alone with myself, not constantly on this treadmill of doing. I'm a manifesting generator, so that is the hybrid human design. So I have a lot of energy that's generated within my own being. And without the self-nurturing, without routines that provide me the amount of nurturing that I need for my well-being, I throw things out of balance. And I started to use a mantra to help, because when I have these bouts of dizziness, it's really not much I can do to make it go away. And I just started to practice allowing. Just practice surrendering to it and slowing down. The electromagnetic field that we naturally have is also experiencing the synthetic electromagnetic field that's being created by the low megahertz in the waves that we use for our devices. And we're still adapting to this. We're really not used to swimming in this all day, every day. Depending on what generation you're from, even more so. So I do believe that this is affecting certain generations more than others, and maybe not just more, but in different ways. So if I go places that have really bad internet connection, maybe less cell towers, the vertigo would be less noticeable or completely go away. And I started to pay attention to what my body was communicating for me. The nervous system, this is my personal belief, and I'm sure there's plenty of proof if I was to research it, but the nervous system is being thrown out of balance by the technology that we're using. So if we're being bombarded by what is actually alien technology, that's another conversation that I've gotten into on Patreon. But this technology was given to us by certain interdimensional races. And I believe in past lives like Lemuria and Atlantis, we somehow abused these technologies, which led to the fall, that occurred in these civilizations. And I have done research about this, and you can find a lot of that information on Patreon if you want to get more into other life forms, interdimensionals, extraterrestrials, and maybe even discover your own starseed galactic heritage. All of that is on Patreon, and I'll make sure that I put the link in the description. Choose any tier. The higher the tier, the more information you get. So there is a terraforming occurring on the planet. So this is Mother Earth's body, right? So she's experiencing significant changes as well. If you notice, the rotation of Earth has been impacted. When we had the tsunami, that really major tsunami that we had, I can't remember exactly what year it was. Maybe somebody could drop it in the comments for me. But when we had that tsunami, the rotation of Earth actually sped up by some milliseconds, if I'm not mistaken. And that might sound like it's not a big deal, but it really is. So Earth's rotation has speed up. You could almost say Earth experienced some vertigo, right? Change in the way it was spinning. Then we have the pole shifts occurring as well. So as you can see, as within, so without, right? And a lot of the things that are happening to Mama Earth's body is happening to us as well. Now, if your body has been communicating to you, and you're going to the doctor, you're getting checkups, you're taking care of yourself the best that you can, then not being able to get a diagnosis or figure out why something is happening could very well be a spiritual message that you're supposed to be getting. And once you receive that message, sometimes those symptoms will subside. And I have also had this happen to me many times, where once I was still enough to receive the message and grounded, certain symptoms would go away. It also seems like when I am deeply delving into somebody's Akashic Records, there are certain symptoms that I have afterwards as well. With this Virgo full moon, I'm inspired to share this with you all. As I said, a lot of this information was already shared on Patreon, but I wanted to put this in video format and share it with everybody here. I want you to really start paying attention to your body. Take care of your body as best as possible. Because the energy that we're moving into as a collective with the astrology, it is actually helping us to detox from this conditioning that we all were programmed to have, to ignore our body, to ignore what's happening, to just push through. And that's okay to do sometimes. But if this is something that you do every single day, it's going to accumulate. And the body holds memory. The body does not forget. The body always keeps the score. This healing journey is not going to give you everything that it has to offer if you're ignoring your mind, your body, and your spirit's messages. So I'm going to put the link to the time travel shadow work mirror ceremony that you can do to travel across timelines, connect with your wounded inner child, to be able to bring some of the fragmented parts of you into conscious awareness. Because codependency was how a lot of us survived. narcissism was how a lot of us learned to survive. All of the things that we see discussed in psychiatry, psychology, transpersonal psychology, every realm of psychology, Jungian philosophies, all of this information that is being put out now, it can be disorienting, and it can also become a form of bypassing, where you're not really tuning into what's happening with you. And we are learning to be individuals, to celebrate ourselves, to be proud of who we are, to be able to accept all of the parts of ourselves, the good, bad, and ugly, even though I don't believe in good and bad, but the duality, the black and white, the shadow parts of you, the shiny parts of you. We're learning how to embrace all of those flaws, and we're learning how to not re-traumatize one another by working on ourselves. And this is really the reason that a lot of romantic relationships are in the state that they're in now, because we really need to work on healing thyself. We really need to tap into what do we need to become whole. And that begins with the way that we treat ourselves and the routines that we create. Sometimes the routines need to be updated. Sometimes the routines may be outdated and it's not serving the purpose anymore. And this is what I really enjoy helping people do in my one-on-ones, is to find that routine that's going to help you. Soon I will be putting another masterclass together where I can share some more of these things and go into more detail in a group session. So stay on the lookout for that. I'm making a lot of changes, but there are a lot of things that I have discovered and learned that have successfully given me outcomes that align with where it is I desire to be, which is a master of myself. So I'm going to be sharing more of that, but for now, I'm going to give you a mantra that you can use. You can journal this, just listen to it again, maybe write it down and read it to yourself. But this is a mantra that I have been using, and it helps me a lot. May I see the possibilities that don't yet exist. May I be the counterbalance to create harmony in my relationships. My attention is my most precious resource. I commit to spending it on loving myself more. I will trust my intuition, even if my mind doesn't agree. Destroying who I really am to be what someone else wants me to be isn't a part of my life anymore, and never will be. I attract people who love me just as I am, because I first love myself just as I am. I embrace my flaws, my wounds, and any emotions that come from them, because I am capable of being here for myself consistently. By the power of the breath, by the power of the life and wisdom within me, I invoke divinity to surround me and fill my life with the pure joy that comes from my immortal soul's essence. I hope that spoke to you the way that it speaks to me. And I may just make this a separate meditation. If that's something that y'all would like, I will create a meditation around this. So let me know in the comments. And I want to thank y'all for taking the time out to check out my channel. Be sure to check out my links in the description. Follow me everywhere I am. I post different things throughout the week on different platforms. It's rarely ever the same thing. So if you want to get all of the Campson Untamed experience, follow me everywhere I am. And I just want to let you know, no matter how broken you feel, your intention to heal will manifest exactly what you deserve, which is more love, just as you are. Namaste, Namaste. One love. Ashe.